You
I'm good. How are you?
good? It's Friday afternoon.
Yep,
It's this is the noon show.
because it's noon somewhere in the world.
I'm Irene De
And
Jesus,
I'm Hector de Jesus.
and we're attorneys with De Jesus Law Group,
Yep.
and we're licensed to practice in Florida and Tennessee, and our specialty is estate planning, elder law planning, and business planning, right?
Yep.
So today we're just going to give you a little teaser of what we're going to talk about today. We're actually going to talk about DIY plans,
Yep. But
right?
first, we're going to do our disclaimer,
Yeah, let's do it,
which
Hector.
is we are attorneys, but we're not necessarily your attorneys. However, that can be remedied if you contact us and want to work with us. But
Yeah.
it's just informational purposes only.
Yep.
And no one was harmed in the events that we've created.
Oh, my word. Yes. So this is educational only. Um, anyway, we're excited to be here. Wynn is our producer. Anything we talk about today, she'll make sure she gets into the comment section. Speaking of that, um, absolutely use that comment section, everybody. We're going to be giving away some free stuff today, and it'll be available in that comment section. So definitely look forward to the show today. So should we jump in? What do you think?
Yep.
All right. So, what do we got coming up in November? We've got a special offer, don't we? What is that one?
Yeah, so in November, not only if you schedule a family wealth planning session with us, you won't be charged for that, but also we would donate $100 to your favorite food bank charity. And I think we're working with Second Harvest.
Yep, we're working with Second Harvest on that. For every family wealth planning session that's booked in November. So that's that opportunity to work with us. It's a 2-hour meeting. We're actually going to sit with you. We're going to walk through with you based on the state law, whatever your family dynamics are, whatever assets that you have, and then whatever plan that you might already have in place in case something happens to you, right? And that's always a possibility. So what does that look like? What does it look like for you? And we do that at no charge, right? Just to sit with you and really get you fully educated and empowered to make some steps and move forward. And if you book one of those sessions with us, Wynn will have that link in the chat box for you. Book one of those sessions. We're going to give the Second Harvest Food Bank a $100 gift certificate in your name. Why? Because they take that $100 and they can feed 400 people in your community. Like, how amazing is that? Now, if you do have a different charity that you would like us to donate it to in your name, absolutely. No problem at all. We'll definitely do that. So let's talk about what we've got coming up today, which is dangers in doing DIY plans. What does that look like? And how can we help fix that, right? Or how can you fix it? So make sure that it doesn't have all those pitfalls in it. So I don't know about you, but I'm an avid fan of Pinterest. And I try a lot of those things on Pinterest. And yeah, it ends up with that hashtag on it. Nailed it. When I actually really didn't nail it, right? It doesn't look anything like what I thought it should turn out like.
Yeah, but that nail could also be the final one in the coffin.
Oh, nice. Wasn't that for when you were Dracula? Yeah, for Halloween. Yeah, good reference there, Hector. Anyway, so we want to share just a couple of little stories real quickly about, because we see this all the time, right, as attorneys. And so this one lady, amazing that we got to meet, amazing lady. She had been for the last couple of years trying to get some kind of estate plan in place because she's a world traveler, right? She's just one of those adventurous women. She's in her 40s, she's single, she doesn't have kids, and so she tends to travel around the world. But she's got some loved ones that she's really, really cares about and concerned about. And she has animals. She's got pets. So she's been trying every DIY strategy for the last couple of years to put some kind of a plan in place because she knows the likelihood of something happening to her is fairly high, right? She's traveling in the jungles of Costa Rica. I mean, you name it. And so she's one of those ones that's a DIY fanatic, right? And I get it. I totally get it. But the downfall is she's never been able to move forward. She's never been able to get that peace of mind and put a plan in, because every time she's tried every different DIY, inexpensive way to do something, she realizes it isn't going to meet her needs, and then she can't move forward. How about you? Do you have any stories?
Yeah, tons of stories. But I think one, and this kind of really touches on elder law as well, is I spoke to a really nice lady who was curious on estate planning. And, in part of the family wealth planning session, part of that meeting is really understanding, getting to know the prospective client, but really understanding their why behind what they want.
And why do they want to plan,
why do they want it?
Like,
and what are their
why?
goals? And are there any gaps in what they currently have?
Right.
So we really use that time to get to know the client, really understand. And this person has a husband who, come to find out, she's been the sole caregiver to. He has Alzheimer's, and it's gotten worse. And over the last few years, she's really, she's taken care of him. Well, she was diagnosed with cancer probably a few months back. So now she's got that in the mix. And
And did she have kids?
And she has one minor and one adult child. Wow. And
so who will end up? So she has cancer. The husband already has Alzheimer's. She's younger, right? If I remember.
Yeah.
Who will end up? Does she have anybody in mind? Like, who will take care of her husband when she's gone?
No, and that's kind of, again, when we're doing the session, really that hadn't come into mind. And one of the things that was really strong for her, she didn't want her children to have to bear that burden
of being the caregivers.
And so it was a matter of exploring the options of, all right, have you considered then on a long-term perspective? Because it's not a matter of now, do I need a will? It's a matter, what do I need to leave behind or put in place now, so that when I pass, my children and family aren't scrambling to figure out what to do.
Right.
And that was an experience that we had in my family as well, when my grandmother passed away, and then it was my grandfather, because she was the sole caregiver of him. And then it was all of a sudden, it was like, all right, we need to find placement. We have to do something. So that, just kind of resonated.
Yeah, absolutely. And so that's what we see on our side of the fence, right? As estate planning attorneys and elder law planning attorneys, we totally get the DIY part. We do. But there are 69% of the population across our country, for whatever reason, they don't have plans in place. And so, you might be one of those folks, but the folks that are starting the DIY, good on you. Like, at least you're trying to make that step forward to do it. And so some of the things to look at, what are you really wanting? What is it that you really need? And how do you know if you can do a DIY plan, or you actually need more specialized help? And so we'll just talk about that quickly for you. But in the chat box, if you've got any questions, make sure you post those. But also, Wynn will put a link in there to one of the documents that we have for families that have kids at home, minors at home. One of the things that you can get started on your own is how to start naming short-term and long-term guardians, right? That's a great thing that you can get started on your own, and we'll walk you through it at no cost, at no charge. So Wynn will drop the link in the chat box on how to get started naming short-term guardians and long-term guardians. What are short-term guardians, Hector, if you don't mind telling folks?
Yeah, so short-term guardians are someone that, if something were to happen to you, they could get to your kids within 20, 30 minutes.
Yep. And it keeps your kids from going into the hands of strangers, right? I mean, imagining that's not what you would want to happen.
Right.
So let's get these things put in place, right? Let's get them started. So we'll drop that into the chat box for that one, how to get started on that. And then also, when you're looking at your DIY plans, how do you know, Hector, if you should work with an attorney or if you can do it on your own?
Yeah, and so really, it again, it depends on you and what you're wanting and all. But if you have blended families, if you have
Right.
property in other states,
What's blended families?
so
Just in
blended
case
family,
somebody doesn't know.
yeah, and I think statistically, it's like 50-60% of folks are in a blended family, and
Yep.
that's typically, a second marriage,
Second,
and
third marriage.
one spouse has a set of
You
kids,
got
the other.
kids, I got kids.
It's the Brady Bunch.
Yep, it's
The
the Brady
Brady Bunch
Bunch.
are a blended family.
Yes. And
So
so that can get pretty
yeah,
complex
yeah.
because we've already got these folks trying to blend their family together, and then something happens, right? That's our dog behind us, by the way. That's the newest addition to the firm, Rocky. The German Shepherd. Anyway, so you've got this blended family, and now you're trying to figure out, what if something happens to one of us? How do we make sure that our kids are protected? Like, right? If we're not here.
And where that comes into play as well is if someone doesn't have a plan. I spoke with a gentleman who wife passed. He has a biological child with the wife that passed, but she had two children from a previous marriage, and he's raised these children.
Yes.
And he's like, these are my kids.
These are my kids.
And I said, but right now, the way the law reads, if something were to happen to you, they wouldn't get anything.
Right.
Because, unless you put it in a will or a trust or so, but he didn't have that.
So there's that situation. Now, also, what if you have assets and you not only want to make sure that your family stays out of court and conflict, whether you're a blended family, you have a high risk profession, who knows what you've got going on, right? Or maybe you've got some older children that maybe have some special needs, or younger children that have special needs.
Yeah, and
definitely don't DIY that one.
Yeah. So special needs kids or family member with special needs, you want to be very careful, because if you leave something for them and they inherit, they can lose any benefits they have and such. So there's a way, there are ways of structuring things.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what we're for, right? That's what we're here to help. Now, so you don't say you don't have any of those crazy issues at all. The next thing they're not crazy issues, but they're just your life, right? It's just your life. And so you don't have any of those life events going on. All right, then the next thing to look at would be, do you have assets? Do you have assets that you want to make sure that they go to who you choose and not who the judge decides gets it, right? Do you also want to be able to make this as simple and easy as possible on your family? If something happens to you, it's not necessarily that you pass away. Sometimes I feel like we're the attorneys of death and destruction. Not always. But what if something happens to you where, maybe you're in a car wreck or something, and you can't make financial decisions on your own? Do you have things in place so that you've picked a loved one whom you trust to be able to take care of those issues for you until you can, right? And so that also goes with your assets. Do you want to be able to avoid the expense, maybe the time constraints, and who knows what else is going on in your family with having to go to court if something happens to you? So that might be another factor to look at. And then the third thing for me that I think about is whether you want to do a DIY or you want to do this with an experienced attorney, is, do you want the ability to talk to an attorney about anything going on whenever you need to and not get billed? Right? Because, we're all out there to be able to talk to you, but you also know there might be a $90 bill coming down the pike pretty quickly, right? For that 5 or 10 minute call. So part of what we do is, when we become your attorneys, we have that privilege. We just do flat fees, right? We do flat fee billing. And so that does not appeal to everybody. Right? So are you the type of person that, one, you want to make sure that your plans will cover whether you become incapacitated or you die, and your family structure is not just you? It isn't just you. You want to make sure that everything's taken care of for them and that it's as easy as possible, right? The second thing is, do you have assets? And if you do, what are assets, Hector?
Assets are your stuff, things, property. Looking at the stuff my dog's chewing. That's an asset.
That's an asset.
It's a asset.
It was an asset.
But no, it's just really, you look at it as your stuff. What are your things? And that could be real property, which is a home, property, land.
So it's more than just the things in your house, right?
Stocks, investments. If you have a business, that's another. That's another one that you don't want to DIY if you have your own business, because there are things that need to be structured in both the business and in your estate plan.
It's the same type of assessment, right? It's like, what would happen to your family if you became incapacitated or you passed away? Same question. What would happen in your business if you, as the owner, became incapacitated or you passed away? What would happen, right? Those are the same type of questions. And then that third part is do you want to have an attorney that you can talk to over the years, right? That's going to be your attorney for life, that can basically walk you. You can call and say, Irene, I'm thinking about buying this property in another state. What do I need to think about legally, right? What's another question they could ask?
Well, I just had this happen last night talking to one of my clients and his wife, because I told you, call him.
Call Hector.
But there was an issue with a lease that they had been trying to get out of, and
a lease for what?
A lease for an office.
An office. Okay, so they're business owners.
They're business owners. But it was simple as, let me look at your lease, let me write a letter, and we can take care of this. And she kept saying, I told him to call you months ago. So there were months of pain, where.
So that's another case where the wife is always right.
Yeah, I told him, I'm like,
always right.
Seriously.
All right. So you guys, then real quickly, there are times when it makes sense to do DIY. Like for me, I just made a dog bed for our 2 new puppies, and I made it out of a pallet, and it's gorgeous. It actually worked out the way Pinterest said it would. So I was pretty impressed.
On that this morning.
Okay, well, fine, whatever. Anyway, so there's times when DIY makes good sense. Maybe you don't have assets. Maybe you don't have any complicated family structure or family issues. It's just you. Then at least go in and get started on putting in place what would happen if you become incapacitated. So the 2 documents that are not that difficult to DIY when you've got no issues, right? And it's really straightforward and simple. The 2 documents that you can be able to DIY and get going on is your durable power of attorney, so that if you become incapacitated, right, you can't make your own decisions for whatever reason, at least what's put in place, you're giving somebody the ability to take care of your rent, to be able to make medical decisions for you, to be able to move you to maybe a rehab facility. Like, you've got all of this put in place so that you can heal and get better, and you're not leaving your loved ones, like your parents, right? That's who I'm thinking about, your college age kids. You're not leaving them scrambling, trying to figure this all out, right? So those are the things that DIY, absolutely. Otherwise, we've given you 3 great reasons why you might decide you need an attorney. If you do, and it piques your interest, there's a couple of ways to get a hold of us. One, Wynn will put into the chat box a link where, if you want to do a complimentary 15-minute phone consultation with one of us, just click on the link. You'll be able to schedule that. You'll be able to look at your calendar, our calendar, and get that puppy taken care of right away. And we can talk you through your unique situation, right? No charge whatsoever. We love doing that. That's one way. What if you're already like, you know what? I know I need a plan. I know that this seems like the right thing to do. I really want to do that 2-hour session. Hector, what do they do for that? How do they get that 2-hour session at no charge?
So they can go on the link that's put in the chat, or
Wynn will put a link in there,
and schedule with us, and you'll get, once you schedule, you'll receive homework. And you do that, and
it's a little bit of homework.
Yeah.
You'll do the homework. You'll submit it through a secure link. We'll get that. We'll look it over, right?
Mm-hmm.
We'll look through it. You probably have a bunch of questions. We'll have questions. And then we'll do that 2-hour meeting together at no charge. And we'll walk through everything, right? It'll be pretty cool. You'll get so educated and so empowered. You'll be able to decide what you need and if you need.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
and so that's an opportunity. Now, what if you say, well, that sounds really good, but I need to get to know Hector and Irene just a little bit better, because this whole thing, it seems so complex and complicated. I really want to learn a bit more on my own. Great. Wynn will also drop a link into the chat box where we've got webinars. You can go get registered for a webinar. It's about 60 minutes and it'll walk you through and educate you, right? Yeah. It's fun.
We have one on basically naming guardians.
Yep.
And
so if you are parents, you and your partner, you're parents of minor children, and you really want to know, how do I protect my children? How do I protect my assets? Wynn will drop that link in the chat box so that you can go watch that webinar, okay, at your leisure. And then we've also got another one.
The long-term care.
So what if you are now either sandwiched, where you're in between, you've got minor children on one side and you've got aging parents on the other, or maybe you're the spouse of an aging partner and you're like, I don't know what to do. This seems so complex. I feel like we're going to waste all of our money. This is super expensive. I don't know how to navigate this. We've also got a webinar for that, and it's long-term savvy planning, right? Long-term care savvy planning. So that you can go watch in your pajamas too, y'all. This is in the comfort of your own home. So that we've just given you a bunch of options. Take advantage of them. Go get educated, whichever one seems to make the best sense for you. Get started in. And with that, I think we can say, oh, there it goes. There it goes. I think we can say adios, y'all. It is Friday. Have a most amazing weekend. Enjoy your time together. And that's it. Yeah. Bye.